Hi folks, it's good to be with you. My website is jasonbirdspreacher.com, and and you can get hold of me on Twitter. If you type in Jason Burns Preacher Twitter, you can look at that and engage with Twitter apologetics and Facebook. I want to finish my series on this idea of free speech and Hyde Park. Like I was saying, having free speech means you don't just get to say what you want. That's not free speech. Free speech also comes with responsibility. You have to be responsible with your free speech, all right? And so I think that there was a lot of irresponsibility with some people at Hyde Park on both sides at the Tommy Robinson march at Hyde Park. That people were saying things that were inflammatory on both sides and disrespectful, and I just don't think that achieves anything. All that achieves is more division in society, and it just achieves discord, and it's as simple as that, really. And I think that being cultured and being civilized is to exercise your free speech in a responsible manner. And I do think that in this society, in this day and age, more and more people are reacting on emotion rather than on rational discussion and debate. And I might disagree with your views of Hinduism, political correctness, whatever it is, gay rights even. I might disagree with all these things, but I disagree with respect. I disagree with rational argument and evidence. I don't disagree on hatred, on the grounds of hatred, or on the grounds of vilification or inflammatoriness. I disagree on the grounds of rational debate and discussion, and on the basis of respect, mutual respect, even though I don't agree with your views, okay? And our society today is becoming more and more emotional, more and more clamping down on free speech. And so therefore what happens is people are becoming more and more inflammatory, more and more disrespectful, more and more frustrated, and reacting emotionally rather than actually discussion and debate. So when you're at Hyde Park, you should be respectful. You should debate in a respectful way. We should discuss in a respectful way, and dialogue in a respectful way. And I think that the Tommy Robinson event, there were a number of people down there who were saying things inflammatory on both sides. A fringe element, I might add. It was a fringe element, but even so, that fringe element, it was not welcome. It's not a good thing to be like that. Some people were coming tooled up, I heard. I don't know if it's true, but some people were coming with weapons at Hyde Park. If you come with weapons at Hyde Park, you're basically destroying a 300-year institution, national institution of free speech. I don't think you realise that, again, Hyde Park's not for violence. It's a place for dialogue and debate. If you want to be violent, go and join a boxing club. Simple as. The top and bottom of it is the working class are not being listened to today. The white working class people are being marginalised. They're not being listened to. And their cultures have changed beyond all recognition. The people at the top, in the ivory towers, in our House of Lords and Parliament, because it doesn't affect them, they're not too bothered about it. But people on the ground, the working class people, are getting frustrated because they feel that their voice is not being listened to and their concerns are not being listened to, and they are looking for, trying to preserve some kind of cultural identity in the midst of great multicultural changes, specifically in the area of Islamization. And that's where the backlash is coming from. And I think that the Parliament and House of Lords, you have your head in your sand. You're not thinking about the white working class people, and you're not thinking about the impact that your social engineering is having on the nation. You think you can control it by having the BBC pump out your rhetoric of whatever it is, multiculturalism, etc. But it's not going to work, all right? Because underneath there are cracks appearing in society, and it only takes a severe recession where it even hits the middle class's pocket, and there will be social revolution, there'll be riots, and there'll be a revolution within the country, a kind of anti-Islamization backlash that will spill out into violence on the streets, because you at the top are just hiding your head in the sand from the cracks that are already appearing today, and clamping down on free speech and demonizing these people like Miss Southern is not going to solve the issue. And pumping out your rhetoric on the BBC, what you have to do is face the fact that there are large groups of people who need to be listened to, i.e. the white working class. They're not being listened to. Face the fact that social engineering of bringing in large cultures in working class areas and not thinking about those areas and the impact it's going to have on those areas, and to do it so quickly is not a wise thing. Things have to be done in a slow manner. So those are my thoughts. I just think that ultimately the problem with our nation is that we've turned our back on God, and the chickens are coming home to roost. We've turned our back on God, we've turned our back on Christian values, we've introduced political correctness, the state is becoming more totalitarian, Islam's growing stronger, there's a backlash to this Islamization, but ultimately it's because this nation has turned its back on God. And because this nation has turned its back on God, it's in a mess, and it will continue to be in a mess, and it's going to get, folks, 100 times worse. There will be a day when Parliament will crumble. There will be a day when the House of Lords will crumble. There will be a day when the police, and I don't wish it on the police, but the way the police are going, being corrupted with political, becoming more political and not defending the rights of everybody, but specialising in defending a right for a certain narrative of the state. There'll be a day when the police are beaten in the streets and just left for dead, because the whole of our society at the moment is crumbling. The very heart and foundation of our nation is crumbling, and the reason is if a nation does not have a strong meta-narrative, it will not be united. A nation has to have a strong identity, and if a nation does not have a strong identity, it will collapse. And what the left did, and what our political leaders did and academics did over the last 100 years, is they took out Christianity from the schools, they took out Christianity from our culture, they cut it out, and they put in place this political correctness. And it's not a strong enough meta-narrative to hold society. And with all this social engineering of allowing so many people in our land, in just such a few years, and the rise of Islam and the rise of the right, we have not got a stronger meta-narrative to hold our nation together. And so our nation is going to go in free fall. Our nation, if it doesn't come back to God, in the Second World War, the king held a national day of prayer, and the whole nation turned to prayer. Churchill was a man of prayer. Our whole nation in the Second World War turned to God in prayer. We don't have that anymore. We've lost that sense of we're a nation under God. We've lost that. We've lost the history of the Puritans. We've lost that every family only 100, 200 years ago would have Fox's Book of Martyrs in their house, Pilgrim's Progress and a King James Bible and a Matthew Henry's commentary. How many of you knew that? That every house only 200 years ago would have Pilgrim's Progress in their home, a King James Bible, Matthew Henry's commentary and Fox's Book of Martyrs. We've lost our identity as a nation. And until we find our Christian roots and our Christian identity, then we'll never have a stronger meta-narrative to keep this nation together. And unfortunately, our nation is in free fall. This is only the birth pangs. What happened at Hyde Park is only the birth pangs of greater malaise that's going to happen in the next 10 years. We're heading for revolution and civil war in this country. We're heading for dissolution in this country. I don't wish it upon our land, but that's where we're going. And the only hope is our nation rediscovers its Christian roots. God bless you.